Okay, guys, from in this video, I'm just going to give you kind of a business focused overview of market segmentation and segmenting things like consumers and products. So, what is segmentation? Let's just think of kind of a little example. Maybe, I don't want to stereotype at all, but maybe I'm trying to sell hunting equipment. If I had a group of people who were politically liberal, lived in Manhattan, didn't own any cars or perhaps had like very small kind of vehicles, then there's no way that these people would actually want to buy any of my equipment. So it would be kind of useful, it would be kind of useless to actually market to them. Alternatively, I might be, selling high-end fashion items, um, things that maybe dresses or clothes that cost like $10,000 each. And again, if I was trying to aim this at poorer rural consumers in Mississippi, this really wouldn't work too well. So most companies will group or segment their market in some sort of way. So market segmentation is pretty much a constant throughout most of business. Even if we're not doing explicitly with quantitative methods, we at least implicitly are doing some sort of thinking about what sort of groups of customers want to buy our products. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about, give some kind of examples and talk about a few of the business aspects of segmentation. Then we're going to implement segmentation, predominantly actually now next class, using a method called cluster analysis, which is basically a method for grouping data. So let's just kind of move on and talk a little bit about the different types of segmentation. So, as I said, customer segmentation has been widely used since the 1950s or 60s, since the first use of computers in business. Companies have tried to actually segment their consumers. Now, it's got easier over time with much better data as supermarkets began to introduce scatter data so we could segment customers through buying patterns, the introduction of loyalty cards, which enables us to look at kind of transactions across customers, being able to kind of trace customers' web browsing behavior. We've got more and more data that we can segment consumers on. So generally, we want to find a specific group of consumers who want to buy a product. We may want to understand a little bit about our consumer base. If I have my kind of hunting equipment company, I maybe want to know, do I have CEOs who are buying my equipment? Um, is my equipment bought by a certain base of consumers? So I really want to understand my customers a little bit better. A second major concept is this idea of a segmentation base. And this is what we're actually segmenting on. So we can segment on demographic or socioeconomic factors. So, for example, as I gave the example of a high-end fashion retailer, if all my products are costing thousands of dollars, I'm unlikely to do well in an area where the average income is maybe 20 or $30,000 a year. Just kind of almost common sense. We may want to, look at college educated versus non-college educated. We may want to split based on ethnic group and just see if there's different response patterns. So that's one set of segmentation bases. We also have lifestyle factors, lifestyle segmentation. I'm sure as students, some of you kind of live quite different lifestyles. Some people might be quite focused on health and fitness, going to the gym every day. Other people are less focused on health and fitness and maybe more focused on enjoying yourself at college. Um, Again, very similar with like young professionals. You have maybe people who eat, very healthy foods, will do yoga, will go to the gym, will, try all the latest kind of health trends. Other people who are less interested in that. So various things in terms of lifestyle is sometimes actually a better fit than actual demographic or socioeconomic factors. In that if we know what people's behavior, what they actually have, what their behavior is, this is actually, a good way of segmenting people. If I'm selling hunting equipment, knowing, people who go hunting, that's obviously a major factor in when I'm segmenting my customers. Perceptual preference data. Now, this is stuff not based on observable factors, but I might have a strong preference for sustainability, for environmentally sourced products. So I may have some survey data where I talk about, my consumption preferences in terms of sustainability. Some people don't care about sustainability. They just want convenience, they just want cheap prices, they're very price sensitive. So again, knowing a little bit about consumer preferences will help us segment the consumers. And finally, explicit data on buying behavior. So if we know, for example, what people have bought in the past, just to give you an example using supermarket scanner data, if I buy Colgate toothpaste, pretty much weekly, I'm probably going to be pretty much brand loyal to Colgate toothpaste. You can put me in a brand loyal segment for Colgate. If I'm jumping around and I'm going from Colgate to I'm going to Crest, I'm going to a supermarket's private label brand, then I'm probably going to be less brand loyal. So here's a nice little example of customer segmentation. And this is the Prism segmentation, and this is just a commercial segmentation solution you can buy. And this little graph shows is we have Amazon.com, and the amount of the purchases we have by Prism segment. So 100 is the average person in the US, how much they order from Amazon.com. And then we look at the segments, and you can see this segment down here, segment 6, only orders on Amazon.com about 20% of the average for the US. While these segments up here, these are how value segments for Amazon, they have around double the average purchase from Amazon. So we're looking at these blue segments, these elite segments here, the upper crust, the blue blood estates, and we're looking at this is a very much a summary diagram, but maybe we have this young digerati. I don't know if I can pronounce that properly, but this segment again would buy a lot more than average at Amazon.com. And then there's exactly the same thing from Walmart. We just have the numbers of the Prism segments here, but we can see that we have one segment here. We have like what shop at Walmart and order from Walmart.com. So this particular segment here has nearly 3 times the average amount of buying at Amazon at Walmart than the average US consumer. So again, if I'm Walmart, there's different ways I can do this. I can focus in on these high value segments for me. I can also look at, some of these segments down here, thinking, why is my product not attractive for this segment? Why segment 60 has pretty much nobody is buying anything from this segment? Is it an elderly segment who don't have access and don't want to order online? Is it a segment that are just appalled by Walmart.com? We may want to look a little bit at our what we sometimes call the weak market segments. So this is another little segmentation solution. And this is a company called Esri, and they produce what's called geographic information systems, which is basically mapping software, but you can put business information on these maps. And what this is a map of the Southeast USA, and we have consumer segments overlaid onto that map. Here we have, this was one I did, this was a while back, and this used to have the tapestry segmentation, but it actually didn't, the tapestry segment somehow got removed from this. This is ArcGIS's online product. And what I did here was I was basically looking, this was my my famous kind of Yelp downloading when I got banned from Yelp in Milwaukee. And what I did here is I got a lot of information on companies. So McBob is a bar and grill in Milwaukee. And I just kind of place the different categories. This is more of a product segmentation. I place the different categories of companies on a map of the Milwaukee area. And I said we used to have consumer segments here as well. So this is the Esri segmentation. And let's just kind of have a zip code. So I'll do Starkville. Let's just look at a few of these things. Well, let's just look at the median age and the population density for the moment. So this, if you want to try this yourself, this is the second link on slide 6. And we basically get all the information on 39759. So we get basically everything except Mississippi State. And we can see these different consumer segments here. So we have 50% college towns, rural bypasses, um, old and newcomers. So again, to get the full details, you would probably have to pay a lot of money to Esri. But we can look a little bit about this segment. And about half of us in college, the rest often working jobs related to college. We have busy schedules, but juggle studies and part-time jobs and socializing and sports. We make impulse buys and splurge on fashion. Does this sound a little bit like you? And let's just do, if I did this on class, then I would actually have kind of a few people speak up at like where they actually live. This is where I used to live in Milwaukee. Here we go. And it used to be kind of quite a blue collar neighborhood, but it was like gentrifying. So we still had 40% of people of this older, like blue collar kind of here we go. We can get the full segment details here. These kind of older blue collar consumers tend to be older, predominantly white, kind of middle income, um, you know, like convenience stores, still watch TV rather than, you know, consume media on the internet. And we have something about their wealth and social and economic status. But we also have like Emerald City, young mobile. So these are the people who are actually moving into the neighborhoods, almost like the gentrifiers. We go for professional networking, online dating, and blogging. We buy natural, organic, and environmentally friendly products. Let's just look at this segment. Um, and again, look, you see this big group of people in the 20s. Um, again, predominantly white, medium household income, kind of moderate, very liberal politically, shop at Trader Joe's and Whole Food, um, utilize home cleaning, so they've got time for yoga, um, read magazines and books on a tablet, sometimes while exercising, and likes art galleries, museums, and concerts. So, just for a bit of fun, try that for your own particular zip code. You've got the link on slide 7. Another interesting article. Now, this is quite an old article now, but it's kind of quite relevant. And this is an article on micro segmentation. It's just basically saying that with the amount of data we now have online, um, we have, say for example, just one person, everything you order on your credit card, what you order online through websites such as Expedia, your browsing behavior. This is all often kind of calculated into one record by data aggregators who will sell this on to companies. So with this amount of data available, we have these very strongly, um, you know, kind of quite what we call micro segments, and that we can really focus in on small groups of consumers. Where marketing segmentation used to be quite broad, we'd think of something like, high income urban females. We now have these very kind of micro segments. So we have the Hawaii vacation seeking, price sensitive Democrat, and the base basketball loving safety net senior Oenophile. I think they're just being a bit fancy here. So this idea of market segmentation, micro segmentation. It's a little bit scary, just the amount of data that we have available on people. So the next little thing is product and brand segmentation. So we can segment consumers, but we can also segment products. So, say for example, I had a new car I was introducing into the US market. I'd want to compare it to all the existing products. I'd want to say maybe it was a subcompact car, it might be competing with the Nissan Versa. If it was, a high-end truck, I might be, competing with a Toyota truck. So I'd be really interested in, which particular brands uh, my kind of new product was going to be competing with. It may be that I'm wondering, I may think that my product is a premium product, but the consumers possibly don't agree. I may think I'm competing with a Lexus, but in fact, I'm competing with a Nissan or a Ford. So by looking at consumers' perceptions, I can maybe segment my products. And again, when I segment their products, I can look at perceptual data, how people rate my product, what people believe in with respect to my product. And we've got in the example we're going to do with the data, we've got some kind of very simple perceptions of different types of car brands. And then we'll look at behavioral data, how people behave. Now, I'm not going to ask us to analyze a supermarket scanner data set, but we can look at things like, um, if I kind of buy Colgate and Crest every other week, and lots of consumers have that pattern, then these brands are probably competing with each other. So we can look at things like co-purchase patterns. I do have, for one of the class exercises, I'm not sure we'll get to it, I have some behavioral data on, what foods people have in their households, and we could actually do a little bit of country segmentation there. But generally, product and brand segmentation, we can look at what people think about a product. Obviously, if we have a new product, if we're introducing a new product, we don't have behavioral data on that product. So we need to have some sort of maybe perceptual data, maybe some sort of survey. And here's a few. These are just very simple with two different segmentation bases. So we have household income. We have different kind of cosmetic brands in Japan. This is just an example I got from the web. We have, the age they appeal for, Maybelline is mostly maybe teenagers, younger people. And then we have household income from low to high. So we have, for example, Dior is seen as a premium brand for high household income. And this is just a very simple two-dimensional segmentation map. And this is what I'm going to ask you to actually do in a minute. Here's a little example. I try not to set too many academic papers in this class, but this was from an academic paper, and what the authors were doing is they were looking at, Twitter mentions when people mention brands together and who people follow on social media. And they were looking at kind of co-occurrences, like if a consumer is interested in multiple brands, um, we consider that these brands have a certain degree of similarity. And what they did is they translated these similarities into a 2D map. And we're basically using it to look for cross-selling opportunities, and particularly cross-selling opportunities in different categories. So this one's like a really interesting one. So we see Red Bull, Adidas, and Reebok. So we can see they seem to be really different categories. There wouldn't seem to be any cross-selling opportunities, but obviously Red Bull has similar groups of consumers to Adidas and Reebok. And in fact, Red Bull does market itself in terms of sports and extreme sports. We also look at things like Expedia and Westin. That would make a nice cross-selling opportunity, Expedia and Delta. Um, we look at things like Spotify, Hulu. And then we look, interestingly, Tesla is a way away from all these other kind of car brands here. And we see also people tend to be maybe talking about Elon Musk here, which is why Tesla is nearer to SpaceX than the traditional cars. But it's interesting when maybe people talk and follow tech brands, they also follow Tesla. And these people wouldn't really actually follow the traditional car brands. And here's a more kind of commercial. This is Gartner. They do a lot of these like competitive maps. Now, these segmentation bases, they're probably Gartner won't actually kind of reveal to the outside world how they put these together, but these are probably kind of some sort of composite index. So these are kind of enterprise AI and business intelligence. Um, and we have here we have the ability to execute and the completeness of vision. So we have Microsoft here, and this seems a bit weird, but Microsoft have Power BI. Microsoft actually have R, what we've been using. They have, oops, they have a lot. They do. I think they bought our studio. We have Salesforce, the big Salesforce automation company, CRM company, but they also bought Tableau, so that they have quite a lot of enterprise services. Again, Amazon here. Amazon, we think of them as like buying things online, but they have developed a lot of web services. A lot of things we do in R in this class, Amazon have developed a cloud where you can actually, send requests to run maybe a prediction algorithm to Amazon Web Services and pay to Amazon to run the algorithm, and then you get the output back. So we have quite a wide range of services here. Um, Poor old SaaS, the traditional business intelligence and traditional software company, is maybe a little bit behind the times. It doesn't seem to be doing quite so well on this Gartner map. Okay, so I'm going to do a very simple visual segmentation here. So let's just have a look at our whiteboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this beautifully straight line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a segmentation of fashion retailers. Okay. And I'm going to pick two segmentation bases. I'm going to pick kind of trendiness. So I will saw and each of these are going in some perceived scale of trendiness from low to high. And then I will have like expense. So how much things in the shop cost. And again, from low to high. So these are just going to be my two simple segmentation bases for fashion retailers. So let's start off with the bottom, maybe not quite the cheapest, but the least trendy. And I keep looking, I keep thinking I can't do Sears examples anymore, but I think there's still about 5 Sears stores in the US holding on. So until they're completely dead, I'm going to carry on doing Sears. Very similar positioned, maybe a bit more expensive, still not particularly trendy. We have J.C. Penney. And probably similar, but even lower price. Maybe we have Walmart down here. And a bit more mid-market. I shop at Macy's, but then I'm an analytics professor, so what do I know about fashion? Let's just have Macy's. Can't remember if it was a plural or an ownership, so we're Macy's. So let's just look a little bit. Let's go mid-market now, and let's do kind of mid-level. Let's do some Banana Republic. And then we have maybe Old Navy. And kind of very trendy, but a bit more expensive. Let's just do Anthology. And I guess Lululemon. And let's just do a bit of a fast fashion. Um, so probably low expense, but a little bit more trendy down here. We'll have Zara and maybe J. Crew. Yeah. And then more expensive, we'd have Nordstrom. Maybe not quite as trendy as Lululemon or Anthology. And maybe Calvin Klein. Um, Maybe we'll have Coach, Dolce Gabbana. Okay. And again, I know very little about fashion, but you see my little segmentation map here. And I could probably actually do some explicit clusters. So I could have my low end here. So that would be low end, bargain. We could have our, let's just say, mid market here. We'd have our fast fashion. And we'd have the high end. Oh, and I can't draw properly. So we have the high end here. So this is literally what we're going to be doing in this class. We're going to be visualizing and we're going to be putting into groups to be segmenting. Now the issue is here, let's just go back to my black pen, is that we've done this on trendiness and expense, but I mean Coach have only a few products in each store. Nordstrom is like a real, a really diverse department store. Lululemon just sell fitment equipment. So we might have some additional bases. We'd have breadth of product, breadth of, yeah, range, or quite often, I'm not a retailing professor, but you'd call that the level of assortment. And again, kind of related to that, probably correlated that would be size of store. You could also have things like the number of stores. And then we could have all sorts of kind of things. We could have things like, the level of things harder to measure, but customer service. You know, online offerings. How online focused they are compared to offline, maybe a percentage of sales in each. And we could kind of go on and on and on and on and on. So the idea here about, again, is that we've done this in 2D, but we can only use two pieces of information. A real business data set, you might have hundreds of pieces of information. So that the techniques that we cover in this class will basically do this sort of thing. And the first one we're going to do, it's going to be taking lots of segmentation bases and then put that into two new pieces of information that have, basically combining all of these different pieces of information into two pieces of information, so we can kind of have one kind of summary map. And it's the same with the segmentation. If we want to do this in more than 2 dimensions, then we have to use a method called cluster analysis, which we'll end up focusing on because of the lost class, we'll end up focusing on the Tuesday map. So this thing here, this is all I really want from you for today's little kind of mini exercise, is a little segmentation map, either email to me or just pop in online and show me your map. You can share your screen. Okay, so there we go. That's it.